Dear reader, allow me to introduce you to my book. Though it might at first appear like many books you've come across, it is far from ordinary. You may, therefore, have some misunderstandings about its nature. The story that awaits you has not been fully told. In fact, its conclusion is not yet known, even to myself. It is in that way that my book is special. It is in that way that you are. Without you, there is no story. Chapter 1. Normal isn't what it used to be. This is a story about change. Nestled in a shallow valley is the town of Beacon Pines. Far from the town square, across the river, past the neglected welcome sign, a young boy walks alone at dawn. His name is Luca Van Horn, and like you, dear reader, he's here for a reason. Was Luca's closest friend. He possessed many fine qualities. Rollo finally noticed that wonderful. I had a good feeling about you from the moment you opened my book. That charm is a very keep hold of it for now. Its purpose will reveal itself soon enough. Rollo looked to the sides. Dear reader, forgive me for this interlude. Remember that charm you found in... There are more of those special charms. They've been known to reveal themselves to those. Some of them can... Gran had commandeered the upstairs closet when she moved in. Some things need shelter from... Luca tossed on his favorite old sweater, even though it was the... meals crowded the refrigerator, each labeled with the day of the week. A pair of dull scissors, a broken can opener. I am now certain. You'll recall I was excuse me. You are about to. There are certain times and step forth. The less grand new. For the day. The best lies are built on easy. Impressive. You've managed. That is the power of charms. A single word can change everything. I think it's time to introduce you. The Chronicle is a record of the decisions you've made. You can see the turning point, which is at any time you can use. Luckily for us, this is the one and it's the perfect opportunity. We were just gonna go chill for the day. The best lies are built on truth. Easy. Chapter 2. Welcome to Beacon Pines. For many years, this valley had been a small mining outpost. It wasn't until Sharper Valentine built his fertilizer company that Beacon Pines was established. Over the next 30 years, the town had grown and prospered until the foul harvest and hit. In the 6 years since, everyone was simply trying to get by. Luca looked up at the satellite dish. Rollo nearly killed himself. While it didn't turn the radio in, it did at least boost the signal enough. is an important turn. The first time and currently, have no fear, we can, well, now I'm just, where were we? Rolo froze as Roxy took a step toward him. Luca knew he had one. In the past, he found the best way to deal with an enraged Roxy was to be a little chill. Holden Wilder ran the local paper of record, the Beacon. A bit much, if you ask me. A promise grand The path led into a small hollow at the fence thrummed. Luca often asked himself so that he could roll. As sparks flew from the fence, the light atop that section shut off. 2 bulbs remain. One more to go. The fence's buzzing gave way to... Every kid in town knew the old Valentine fertilizer building. Long abandoned, the warehouse once served as... Now it stood on the dormant building. There was only one way to find out. Luca thought he heard faint sounds coming from the other side of the door. He pressed his ear against the cold metal. The sound of footsteps. The heavy steel door knocked him disoriented. It lunged toward him. Luca watched it. This is a story about change. It was far from the sort of, but change is there are many paths. Most will end in tragedy. We will find from here on out, now. Let's... In the past, he found the best way to deal with an enraged Roxy was to be a little shit. As the glowing windows of the boy sat petrified under the weight of the bag. Rolo felt around. He snapped off a tag from... Rolo held the badge up. Luca sat in the dark, tracking 1, 2, 15, 35, 30. Screw it, that's long. And Luca carefully. Nothing. No sign of Rollo. Time to haul ass. Luca clambered from the dark. He was up like a sheik and pines flew by. He wouldn't remember getting home at all, throwing his front. Chapter 3. Finding a friend. The next morning, it was quiet. Only the sound of silverware. She let out a an eerie electronic sound. A pit. Luca's mouth felt dry. Luca could feel his heart. Volunteered at the library during the summers. He wasn't very social, making him a reliable source. If you were to ask Kato something, he'd escape into the dusty old book. Kato was lost in his reading. Luca crooked his neck to... He gestured to the shelves. The entire top level of the library was devoted to comics, most of which were mycological phosphorescent. The bottom corner shelf was a dusty, only one binding was clean enough to cellular biology. A peek behind the curtain. The methods and rumination. One of the great by Sally Seashore. Luca brushed off a smut. 30 recipes so Oh, the cobs, I've a salad-centric travel. There were rarely any actual new additions, simply a variety of Beck's family moved often, giving her little time. She would tell you she preferred. Luca shifted his feet. Beck pulled a coin from her. Luca felt a chill. Her eyes were locked. The nearby grass. Luca watched as Beck's eyes widened. First small. As quickly as they. Beck dropped the stick with. Iggy took a step towards Luca, his sneer lit by the glowing puddle. Beck could see tears welling in Luca's eyes. His fists. Some things about Beacon Pines were very different from the city, but a bully from a hayseed town. Beck took a deep breath. Well, time to bust out the strange. Beck stared, and the only sign of life. At the sight of Iggy taunting Beck, Iggy's smirk shifted to. Iggy's clothes were drenched in the glowing. Iggy's voice began to. Person at the warehouse, this strange ooze, and what it was. Rollo caught up in all. Beck glanced toward. Rollo was safe. A wave of relief washed. Gran is going to. If he hurried, he. Chapter 4. Our Harvest. Luca took a deep breath. The house was empty. Luca was sitting by the pond, listening to small. His father sat in without turning. "Why don't you grab me?" "Sure thing, Dad." Luca hopped over to inside. "We're fishing with..." Luca's father gave a well. Luca closed his eye, holding it at arm's length. Interesting choice. With a practiced flick, the water accepted it. The wrong. The pond began. "Sometimes we got a pallid ice prop." Luca scrambled back. "Dad." "Sorry, kid." The relentless ice. "Dad, look at..." His father casually wound the reel. "None of it's your fault, you know." "Dad, we have to go." Luca grabbed his father's shoulders. "Please, you have to..." The ice crackled as it spread. "That's the thing about fishing." His chest began to... "You toss your hook in." A shock of searing cold. The chair tipped backwards and Luca tried to stop the... He watched the... Dad, the gentle rustle of... Luca's eyes struggled to focus on the walkie-talkie. Faintly, he could hear... Lolo's voice was coming through, but some words were... The signal went silent. Luca held still, his pounding heartbeat. Lolo's voice began to fade. With that, the signal... Luca grabbed the walkie-talkie. Luca heard a group of... He dashed behind the... Mr. Tolliver paused, Mr. Tolliver took one long... The three shared... Luca could only... He strained to hear as a... Fear gripped Luca. Luca stared at the ground for a moment. The figure shifted... Luca reached over and... Iggy's tone jolted to dejected anger. Luca slumped... Iggy slumped to his knees. Luca grabbed the walkie-talkie. Luca and Iggy climbed up the mission control defense from behind the crowd of... Kerr's smile faltered. Luca's grip tightened. Luca's mind raced. He wiped his cheeks. Luca drew himself up and decided to take the own. He swung the mission control defense cannon around. Luca summoned his most insolent. Kerr turned it with a nonchalant. As the clipboards began to the end. Let's put a pin in this. This is a story about struggle. Luca could hear a machine humming somewhere nearby. He felt around wildly, searching for something. His hands found a hard object. He yanked it free, lifting it. Luca swung the tile. He heard the crack of glass with a muffled yelp. Luca was free and he never looked back. Chapter 3. Everything's fine. The next morning, only the sound of silverware and... At his counter, Hiram Tolliver was more accurately, with a yelp, Mr. He leaned. He leaned in. Mr. Tolliver leaned back. He reached forward and he leaned in. She leaned forward. Luca shifted. Mrs. Fratelli lifted the... She carefully lifted... Mr. Nuncreed up. Nuncreed snatched. Beck locked the look on her face. Beck gave Luca a... Took a long... Chapter 4. Dinner with the Moodwill. Ilona Moodwill was... But there was a... Almost done. Dinner went by without... As she watched Beck and the things she cared about, Nellie finally had... Beck was beginning to take... Ilona's task was... She could do that. Luca's eyes were fixed to his plate. Nellie was the one who eventually... Ilona nerved. Luca wiped his face. Beck gave Luca a slip. Luca glanced over to Beck. Beck slammed her fist into the table, perhaps harder than she... Luca glanced outside to gauge. The sky was darker than... Luca wiped his mouth one last... Surprised, Luca turned around, but Beck seemed probably... Luca began to respond, but the... Luca surveyed the roiling. At that moment... Luca bent down to examine the bouquet of wilting, judging by the odor. He flipped open the attached card. Luca flicked at one of the toggles. Luca squinted into the eye hole. Luca adjusted the slide with his fingers to get a better... Luca wiped his hand off on his sweater and... Beck looked down. Beck took a moment to watch the river. Luca took a deep... Luca let out a... Her voice dropped to a... Beck brushed off her shirt and... As abruptly as it began... Luca a light thump on... Chapter 5. Friendly feet. The air was heavy with the smell of wet. Despite his drear, he'd never shared, not even Rollo. But it's not like this chain. Adding Beck to the group would help. This is what Luca told him. Luca had only ever heard him speak, and it always meant one. Rollo scoffed. Luca stumbled on his words, knowing. Luca became in both boys were now Rollo's tone changed to a calm, yet more. The words hung in the cold night air. Rollo's stomach dropped, but it was too late. Luca dug through his old stuff. Gran cooed gently. Luca just wanted to be alone. He waited to hear the sound of the Luca dozed off. Luca still couldn't. Besides, if the adventure. Luca carefully opened the. Rollo had received it for his birth, a special hardcover. Rollo cherished it. Luca wasn't sure if it or just wanted whatever the reason, but it had stayed right now at the foot of it. He'd read it all before. He was well into issue. Without realizing it, he once again felt. Luca stood in a vacuum. He looked up at his father. Walt was working a straw. Dad. Taking a final loud gurgle, he jangled the straw plate, then lifted the empty glass. The source. Luca's eyes followed in an instant. Across from him, the figure's voice was a well. Make yourself. Luca held his ship. It doesn't. Their yellow-gloved hand. It's a cold flame. Luca peered at the base. It wasn't tiny buildings. Luca could see people. Luca leapt to his feet. We've got to help them. The figure gave a dismiss. Why waste energy? The figure bent down to it. They only care about what not let. Luca's voice was a tremble. Us? The figure slowly stood up with a jolt. A cloud of torpid. Luca's own face. Older. The sensation was as if he'd caught hit the doppelganger smile. I tried to help one. He gestured towards his, and all it got. Luca staggered back. Luca felt a hand catch. His father was there again. Every choice. This is the end. Luca watched his old whelp dead. Luca watched in a flash of cold light. What? Luca felt a reassuring squeak. Just remember. Luca woke up. Luca rubbed the kind. Grand silence. Luca gave a reluctant. Luca took a deep breath. Chapter 6. Through thick and thin. Despite Luca's bitterness, Gran was right. He needed to hash things. A big fight changes the nature of a friendship. Whether, in the end, it is for the if one is not careful. Luca emerged, but the events of the day he had to find. Roxy rolled her eye. Luca looked down. Kato's eyes lit with Kato straightened up and cleared his. Kato stared at Luca. Luca grabbed The Adventures of Hank Atomic, issue number 5 from. Luca grabbed The Adventure. Kato removed his book from the desk. As he slid the book at The Adventures of Hank, Luca clicked his tongue with. Kato began flipping. He continued flipping. Reaching the end of the book, before Luca could. Luca shrugged, taking. Luca tongued at his cheek. He reached into his mouth. He shook off the bits of cord. Luca finished off the. Lumi waved his hands. sheepishly. Luca threw himself at Rollo, hugging him as tightly as he could. Rollo handed Luca. Luca, if I am honest, but whatever happens, none of this is fair. We both have. I wish there were. God knows I've tried everything I've done. I hope someday. Love, Gran. Luca folded the paper into. Luca was but that was fine. Sadly, a distant rumble shook. It was not fun. It was something the boys, something as old. A shockwave of cold tore through the room. A bitter, unfathomable chill. Before they could read, two boys, and so, in a silent for the rest of time, the end. No, I won't. We are just going to have to sort through them all until we find the one that fits. A shockwave of cold tore through the room. A bitter, unfathomable chill. Before they could react, two boys, and so, in a silent trip for the rest of time. The end. No, that can't be the ending. It simply can't. I won't. There are more. We are just going to have to. Luca drew himself up and decided to take the only option they had left. Flight. He squinted down the barrel. He looked up with surprise. Luca and Iggy winced as they sprinted. The branches clawed after what felt like that was all he was. The boys tumbled. In fact, Chapter 5. Sign. They stood the sky with each. Let's keep moving. Luca pulled Iggy. The boys stared in Luca had almost. Luca looked at Iggy with a resigned sigh. Luca winced. The crunching of footsteps trailing Luca, he looked back. Luca peered upward at the. He let out a low faintly, seeing Iggy and. Luca allowed himself to collapse next. The boys huddled together for warmth and, if not for exhaustion, as it was, all they had energy for. Iggy motioned. Iggy shrugged. Iggy now wept. He wiped his nose with a slip. Luca gave a. Iggy cleared his throat. Iggy arched. Luca's eyelid. That's all Luca could whisper. Iggy snuggled in. The house smelled of warm bread. Luca was playing with toy blocks on the living room rug. He looked up to see his parents on the couch. His mother held his father's head in her lap. She idly stroked his hair while humming a song. A voice behind Luca spoke. "This is how you remember them, huh?" Luca turned to see his own face, the doppelganger from his dreams. Aww. The figure picked up a toy block. "It's amazing the facades. Not that I blame us. You don't remember, do you?" Luca snatched the block from. The doppelganger pointed to the couch. "The last day we saw him, the day he chose." Luca turned to. "That's not true." The doppelganger waved his. "Everything is true. Well, let me show you." The world flickered and Luca was sitting next to the doppelganger limb. He grabbed Luca's hand. Luca heard, It was his parents. Do you remember what we... Luca gave a slow... He could see the outline of... Damn it, Walt. She was scared. His father stepped forward. There's a sickness in... I swore I won't turn my back on... Luca's Walt calmly removed. What's right is right. I could never live with myself. Eleanor raised her voice. Spare me your bull. What about our son? Luca flinched. Walt turned with a pen. Luca, with tears in his eyes. Mom? Walt dropped to a knee to meet nothing, buckaroo. Luca placed the step. It sounded like you. Walt gently removed the device. Listen to me, Luca. I have some... I'll be back in time to tuck you. Luca hugged his father. Promise? Walt stood up. I promise. With a wink and a grin. A figure approached. It stood above them, slowly raising one from a deep slumber. Whether it was the calming, Iggy felt his clenched fist. Luca looked up. The figure exhaled. When it came to Iggy huffed with gratification. Nat began to turn away. Iggy turned sharp. Realizing he'd warned their patient, Luca and Iggy. Nat took a deep breath in. Nat exhaled slowly, then for a brief moment, Luca and Iggy let them until they opened cold and Nat narrowed. Luca began to laugh. He looked down. His eyes started with a sudden. He sprinted off into the pale distance. As Iggy turned to follow, Nat called out. Chapter 6. The sword. Nat expressed his sympathy. He'd given Luca and Iggy what... As Luca sprinted across the... Rollo said he was underground. Mr. Kerr... The clipboards were held... It all seemed to... But right now, there were... Luca stopped dead in his tracks. The tree was gone. He dropped to his knees. His numb hands hit something. A dry whisper is... There was no reply. Iggy finally noticed that... Suddenly, they... He bent down to scoop up a snowball and lobbed... Luca stuttered through heaving sobs. Iggy gave Luca a... Luca wiped his eyes with a sleeve. Iggy flashed a mischievous. Iggy and Luca shared it. Iggy darted behind a large pine and began digging. He emerged holding a shoe. Luca rolled. Iggy stifled. Iggy triumphed. Luca and Iggy in Arctic air breathed out. Mr. Kerr scratched. His face contorted into a sack. Kerr snapped. To Luca with a slap. Iggy waved the box and Iggy plucked a single bottle. After a long pause, Mr. Kerr Mr. Kerr sighed into the frigid. With a nonchalant with a growl, Iggy tried to twist a Luca dove forward. His grip, he could see Kerr further. Mr. Kerr gasped. With a wild look in his eye. Luca's hand began to cramp. Luca felt Iggy loose. Every muscle in Luca's. Luca felt his hand slip. A calm settled over Iggy. Iggy's voice was cold. Luca had no choice but to refuse Iggy's request. He tightened his grip and reached. A wild delight crept up. That's a good lad. Iggy begged Luca. It wasn't long before they. Mr. Kerr sighed with mirror, a clipboard dutifully produced. That's. I'll put in a good word. A swarm of hands at the end. I think this was one of those times where doing the right. Luca began to respond, but the sky answered for him as the clouds above began to break, revealing patch. Luca stopped himself mid-sentence. Luca saw Beck skulking. Beck grabbed. Beck's voice was an excited. The mysterious figure. A chill ran down Lucas. His vision. Beck stifled a sharp wind. Gran tousled her hair back under the face mask. Gran gave Eris a curt nod, and Chapter 5. What big ear? Lucas sat after checking to make. The clipboard finished. Mr. Nunn. He snatched the. The clipboards looked at each other for a moment, then broke into laugh. Rollo waggled his head. Luca sucked in a Rollo let out a low. Rollo and Luca. Luca gazed out the window. Chapter 6. Secret lair. Summer forged ahead, but the night Luca walked home, reaching home. Luca and Beck rolled their eyes. Rollo. He. A look of real. All three kids snapped to. Before he could finish, Lucas. The three crowded around with the glass door, their eyes but As Beck pulled on the entire... Luca jostled each cabinet drawer in turn. Only one was unlocked. He fingered through the filing for a long moment. Luca nodded. Rollo swiped the folder from the drawer. He whistled to him. He stopped at a page and... Rollo looked up with height. Rollo's finger traced across the... Rollo scanned through several more. Luca, staring blank. Rollo rustled the folder. Luca frantic. Luca slammed the drawer shut. A spider web of string interspersed with... Rollo casually. He smacked his lips. Rollo plunged his hand. Rollo offered the slimy note. They crowded around a... Rollo carefully traced the path. He jabbed down at the... Luca looked... Beck flicked off the light. Overhead, the kids looked up. Then suddenly, without realizing, a muffled male, a final few footsteps, the three kids shuffled as he began to thump, 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 thump. At the bottom, Rollo shifted suddenly. Luca gave him an intense... It was too... Rollo was already... He screeched as he... With all his weight, Rollo tackled the man to the ground. From the dark corner, Luca scrambled, pressing his fingers as Beck flicked. Chapter 7. The interrogation of... Still unconscious, his hands were bound with... The kids huddled in a circle. One thing was certain. They needed to know what he was... After some deliberation, they'd run the classic good cop, hard cop. Rollo brandished a steely gaze. I've got this. Rollo swaggered past the... Without even looking at his captive, he... Mr. Tolliver, Rollo spun around. He'd clearly Beck and Luca gave each other... Rollo slammed. He grabbed the tape. Mr. Tolliver, he recoiled. The chair wobbled as he attempted. Mr. Tolliver could, with a gruff tone. The doubtful expression. Rollo hit. He slammed the table. Mr. Tolliver, he was near. Mr. Tolliver was in a daze. He shook his head, feeling his voice fade. With that, Rollo swung around. Chapter 8. 6 feet under, 3 towns. The kids spent the rest of Luca tried to shake explosive. Gran was the only, but the old man, as the sun began. Rollo shut. Rollo muttered under. Beck slammed. Something tickled. The question hung. Beck rubbed her up. Luca's heart was pounding as if he was lucky. And of course, their dealing with him would be. Luca shook out his arms to. He held perfectly still. She was asleep, his only hope. Mr. Tolliver was no. Or maybe Gran knew. Lucas hung, not realize. Luca rushed over to the pile. He flipped the lid to. As Luca climbed the final stair, with each consecutive step, his stride began to falter. He tried to grab for the railing, just something was wrong. Luca groaned and tried. His limbs might as well through numb lips. Chapter 9. A speech. Luca awoke. He moaned into, or rather, shaking the questions from his woozy head. Luca snapped. Augustus Valentine nervously wiped his... Gus cleared his throat. William Kerr bound. He gave Gus... Mr. Kerr pulled a thick... Mr. Kerr took a moment to survey the crowd. He wiped away... He thumped... Mr. Kerr nodded confident. The crowd was silent. Mr. Kerr methodic. His voice... The crowd began to look around. Mr. Kerr... He raised his hands up to the heavens. At that moment, a merciless wall for a man like William Kerr. This, on a stage, There's that... Maybe we should just quit. No, we got a little close. Please. They'd run the classic good cop. Luca and Rollo ducked behind a barrel, leaving Beck to... With a few crisp snaps, she roused Mr. Tolliver. Mr. Tolliver looked... Beck caught her. She'd already... This was gonna be... Mr. Tolliver... Beck quickly removed the ropes. Mr. Tolliver rubbed. Beck twirled her. Beck shook her head. Mr. Tolliver let out. Beck was on a roll now, playing Mr. Tolliver. Heading for the stairs, Mr. Tolliver hesitated. She grinned and gave him with a shrug. He continued up the stairs, whistling a jaunty tune. Beck blinked slowly in disappointment. She turned to the table. Beck Luca and Beck. Gus looked around her. Eris's cry hummed. Solomon stood proudly at the end, holding a brown bag open. Solomon shuffled. Beck cupped her. Beck flung open the door. Luca cracked his knuckles. The inside of the phone booth dropped loose without even the space. Suddenly, it was unclear. The air was stagnant and smelled vaguely of chlorine. Rollo's hands hovered. for a moment in silence. He gestured toward none created. He shook his head. None creed. Luca began to. The colored. Nuncreed grabbed Luca by the shoulders. A jolt of realism. Chapter 8. The cold, hard truth. Beck leapt up, allowing the suction to yank her into the dark. Dimness eclipsed around. Her only points of reference were she heard the tinny, distant. Once she stopped. Then, all of a burst of wind. As they rounded the corner to the frozen town square, he held his arms out gingerly. Upon closing the distance, Gran stood nearby. A wheel. She held a lit. Mr. Nuncreed turned. Rollo and Beck held steadfast. Luca approached closer. Mr. Nuncreed spun back toward. Mr. Nuncreed wind. His voice hardened. They both snapped, making their the wind howled. They menaced at each other, both catching their breath. The moment balanced on a knife's edge. Amid a blur of emotions and memories, Luca's mind flooded with questions. The wind calmed. And in the stillness, after the death of his father, Luca had trouble sleeping each night. His mother would sit at the foot of his bed, and it was the only thing that melody pervaded, shivering in the raw. Gran lowered the torch. As recognition slowly set in, those countless nights of consolation, the incomparable loss they shared together. She let the torch fall to the snow and sizzle out. A few steps toward Luca was through a flood of tears. Luca lifted his head in a sob the last time he heard. Luca blinked through. He could just make out. He peered across the something about her, only smaller. Luca sprinted as they held each other. Eleanor looked down at Joseph slumped into the cold. For the first time in a long... Luca gazed down. Joseph stared into the snow. Chapter 9. The devil you know. 7 months. Eleanor Van Horn. She stopped. No turning back. She raised the stolen key. She was immediately... It was some sort of... In one corner, she rushed to the... They were experiment reports. There were dozens of them. Eleanor heard the sharp echo. She was out of time. Her eyes scanned the room, muttering a curse. Mr. Kerr? Whispered. Torment dragged. He paused for a... Kerr gasps rip. Solomon pulled a glass. In one smooth motion, he downed its contents. A triumphant... His body and face began... A hushed horror gripped. This is a... Sharper examined his new... Sharper frustrated... Von Kerr gave us a helpless score. Sharper, he'd planned this moment for Mr. Kerr. Sharper crafted one final laugh and so Sharper set about remake the fertilizer factory. Sales rose steadily as more and more Beacon Pines became famous. A secretive gifts that this is wrong. You can feel it. We can't let Sharp. Let's see. Well, time to bust out the tickles. Beck. Tears began to. Beck redoubled her effort. Iggy's eyes darted around. Iggy kicked. Beck shook the ooze out of her. Chapter 4. The best. Luca paused for he'd only just met. Hopefully he could make it up to her. Roxy and Fitz, it was clear they... Roxy's temper, but this was, her eyes were in a torrent of... Roxy, with a Roxy drew... Roxy Luca wiped his... Looking into the puddle, Roxy rubbed her arms. Mr. Nuncree jumped with a start. Luca motioned to the... Mr. Nuncree gently placed one of his substantial hands on... Luca peered up at Mr. Nuncree. There was a deeper... It was subtle. some malice lurking behind those eyes, like a trap ready to spring. Luca felt the weight of none. Something wasn't right. He didn't know what. Luca twisted. Whenever Luca saw his dad's chair, it reminded him of the day. Luca opened the tackle box and picked. Luca gently baited a feather onto the hook, good for skimming the surface. Luca tied a shoestring. What fish could resist an... Luca tied a small mag fishing with the law. Luca stuck a toy. Those things always get dirty. Luca wrapped some tape. Hey, you never know. Luca placed a sinker on the... Sometimes the best. Luca wrapped a twig of thyme. Some fish have refined tape. Luca tied a bent nail. If all you have. Luca gently baited a feather, good for skimming the surface. Luca tied a shoe. What fish could resist? Luca tied a shoe. What fish could? Luca tied a small magnet. Fishing with the law of. Luca stuck a toy straw. Those things always get dirty. Luca wrapped some tape. Hey, you never know. Luca placed a sinker on. Sometimes the. Luca wrapped a twig of some fish have. Luca wrapped a twig some fish. Luca tied a bent knit. If all you have. He aired a long holler into the woods. Luca felt his eye. He conceded to its lumpy embrace. Once again, Luca found. This time, he took a single. The world flickered. He found himself the source. He plopped down cross. Soon enough, Luca stood up. He plucked a keepsake. The voice, you made me. Luca turned. Dad, a warm, a plate. Luca, wait, another voice. That's without knowing what. Is any of this real? Are you real? Luca's father bent down. Of course, I'm as real as the part of you that misses me. Luca turned to look at the old. And you, the doppelganger. I'm as real as this. Through his tear, his father put time to. Luca was startled from his dream by a banging on the floor. A commanding. Just as Luca. Chapter 5. Dangers. Luca stumbled, keeping his hand aloft. The large. Lucas, he peered something only bigger. Chain. Rollo proudly presented his hands to Luca. Luca moved to the side and his hands shot up to his face. Rollo's shadow box. With a yelp, She shot. Beck's eyes narrowed. Ilona. She sighed. She. Luca gave Rollo a quick. Beck flicked a large sheet of paper out of her pocket and slammed it on the floor. Rollo started to wiggle with excitement. Chapter 6. They spent that it would be no, not to mention, by the time this could, the final day before the festival, they'd need to pool even enlist. Luckily, Luca, Beck, and Rollo, they had the festival. He waved vague. Beck snorted. They each. Jeff wheezed. The joy in Jeff's. Looking into the sullen eye. Jeff's brow perked up. Sensing some track. Jeff's one good. Luca offered with a firm and done. Iggy raised an eye. Iggy gave a reluctant. Luca knew they'd need. He tried. Iggy gave a reluctant. Iggy considered the point. A wild-eyed grin. Iggy glanced over to Tish, who nodded in agreement. With a quick nod, Luca was off. Iggy gazed up at Tish. A single tear ran down. Chapter 7. Into the a good heist and thorough prep so far. Jeff, Beck radioed Luke and Rollo. He stowed away in mission. Rollo, being uniquely suited, the outfit provided. Rollo took a few vigorous breaths. He had to think quick. Rollo sighed. With a stroke of his mouth, he Rollo interrupted. Rollo The distraction was enough. The clipboard fumbled. Solomon stopped in his track. A veneer of his words. Solomon's facade. Luca happened to know. Luca tried the hand. Solomon leaned forward. Luca smiled. She mimed a quick hat tip and ambled on. The light on the keypad changed from red to green. Luca switched. On the computer screen, Luca pecked. The screen blinked to life. Columns of green. Solomon's jaw. Luca quickly scanned. Once again, Lucas, in that moment of distraction. He quickly skimmed the screen with his. Mr. Kerr approached with self-satisfaction. Nellie leaned over. Nellie sighed. Solomon muttered inaudibly. Solomon once again. Luca held his. With a subtle. Luca tugged on each of the cabinets. They heard the trampling of friends. Her eyes searched the floor in thought. Solomon watched eager with a sickened look. Solomon clapped. Solomon glanced. Kerr presented it. Before he could finish, Rollo casually tossed them. Luca jiggled the vial mocking. She held it tightly. Solomon sighed. He pursed his lips, a deep uncertainty. She looked to Nellie with a dispirited. Beck slowly approached Solomon. With apprehension, Solomon pocketed the vial. The blood drained. Solomon shook his head with gratitude. A muffled applause resonated. Nellie was staring at the floor. The color dropped. Luca was overwhelmed with emotion. A sudden explosion sounded from the hall. Chapter 8. Comeuppance. Ears still ringing through the dust, and she'd had to bed. How many nights had she? And now traded for this jag with Fratelli and Tolliver at her. It was a strange feeling. The last time she'd stalked, they quickly rounded a corner to find a group. Something worth guarding as she leapt forward. If her last chance. They made their way out from deep within perennial harvest, just as Solomon pulled a glass. In one smooth motion, he downed its contents. A triumphant smile grew across Solomon's lip. With a mischievous look, Beck elbowed Luca. Remember when I had the... I might have tweaked his wonder potion with a little malice. His body and... The crowd gazed in stunned silence at the now empty stage. The quiet was broken when he was never seen or watching the silhouette of first alone through his tears. That was perhaps a I'm only writing the damn thing. Might have tweaked his wonder potion with a little change. His body and face. Eris, she looked to her. She looked back with a shake. Epilogue. Beacon Pine's coldest summer on record came and went without much fanfare. Folks shared what they... The new school year was after everything Luca, Rollo, and Beck had been through. Middle school was... The chill of winter didn't seem to bother people much. They kindled when spring arrived. And as the dawn, it crept, his mind at peace, knowing he is here for a reason. At the end. Honestly, but then you I don't know, it's hard to explain. It's funny. It's just...
Mm-hmm.